18 to 37-year-olds are the most frequent viewers of live stream video in the US. 52% of live video viewers stream content through social media. Video streaming accounted for nearly half of all downstream internet traffic. What does it all mean? Let's find out on the Why I Go Live podcast with Coach Kirk.
Oh, yes. The Why I Go Live podcast. Family, welcome back. Thank you so much for being with us for yet another episode in season 2 of the Why I Go Live podcast. If I could speak today, that'd be great. Season 2, episode 3, and we're still doing some solo stories, and I'm excited about it. Listen, there is something for everyone when it comes on to live video. There's something for everyone when it comes on to content creation. You just have to understand and identify what your why is. I'm going to share with you 3 stories today, 3 different stories that highlight 3 aspects of live streaming that I think we all can resonate with. Okay, you ready for that? All right, before we dive in, of course, we always have to make sure we share some statistics. And so today I want to share with you some statistics. The first one is from TechJury, and it says the video streaming market is predicted to be worth $247 billion by 2027. We're just a couple years off of that. And that is amazing. The streaming media is sharing that every home in every area of home entertainment spending has declined over the past 5 years, except online video. That's from streaming media. Every area has declined except online video. That's amazing. And then our last one, which is from Livestream, 45% of live video audiences would pay for live video from a favorite sports team, speaker, or performer. Whoa, that one is a big one. And we want to make sure you do not miss these at all, because these are giving some insight and perspective and a window into what we call the value proposition of live streaming, a value proposition of content creation and live video. And I want to dive into some stories here today. Some of those stats, they just kind of open up the mind, especially that last one. 45% of live video audiences would pay for live video from a favorite sports team, speaker, or performer. And some of you are saying, well, that's because they're popular. Well, that's because they already have a brand. That's because they already have a platform. Well, let's dive into a couple of stories here. A good friend of mine, his name is MyRon Edmunds. And right at the beginning of the pandemic, we talked about, this brand that he was launching, winning in the things that matter. It was this brand that he was launching, and he was looking to grow and engage this audience. The first thing I want to share with you about live streaming today in today's episode is that it helps you to grow and engage an audience like none other. And so MyRon Edmunds is a great example of that. Is somebody who we got a chance to work with right out of the gate when we were starting up our company. And he had already done some legwork in terms of putting feelers out there, doing different things, speaking in certain places about this particular topic, how men can win in the things that matter. And so he was putting together this conference. Of course, the pandemic hit. And so the idea was, how do we continue to grow and engage this audience, even though we can't physically be in the same space? And so he brought me in, and we started to do these live shows, started to do this podcast, but then we quickly shifted it to a live stream, right? So it was regularly done on his platforms, on his brand. And we were seeing upwards of 500, 600, 700 people jumping on in the comments every single time. And there was just something about it. There was something about the live engagement, something about him pulling those comments in and speaking to people and responding to questions. There was something about the guests that he had on and the information that they were sharing. But in addition to that, it allowed the live engagement, the live platform allowed for those who were watching a real-time two-way conversation with both the host, which was MyRon, and his guest. And it gave them the ability to get immediate responses, immediate answers to the questions that they had pertaining to the topic that he was touching on for the day. We had this kind of planning session after the first couple of weeks, and he was like, man, this live thing is ridiculous. People are recognizing me even as I go other places to speak. They're like, man, I watch your show. Man, I love what you're doing. Growing and engaging an audience is one of the pillars, in my opinion. There are three, but this is one of the major pillars that you can literally lean on and depend on when you decide to leverage live streaming. It worked for MyRon such that he was able to build up towards a conference. That conference was wildly successful. Some big name speakers he was able to garner because of the audience that he had when he would speak to folks and tell them that my audience is engaged, my audience is interactive. My audience is to the tune of 500-600 people live, but then on the replay, we're talking in the thousands. And he was able to make those requests and bring in other speakers, other thought leaders in his particular space. And he's in the men's space, right? He really focuses on men winning in the things that matter in their lives. And he was laser focused on that value proposition, on that target audience, and made sure he was bringing people in to host and hold space for conversations around that particular thing, and really began to set his audience up as a space where, man, they were so engaged, they were growing by leaps and bounds that people wanted to get in to speak to them. But not only that, this was the launch pad for his in-person conference, which he now hosts an annual in-person conference. This was the launch pad for him to be able to speak on other stages. This was the launch pad for his books, plural. And this was the launch pad for him to leave what he was formerly doing. And now he is full-time in content creation, serving this particular audience. He has a membership community. He has an in-person conference. He has a regular podcast that's live on a regular basis. He has been able to, with live streaming at its base, at its core, grow and engage his audience. Absolutely ridiculous results that MyRon Edmunds is experiencing from live streaming. And I'm in fact wholly convinced that could be you too. Let me move to the second pillar. The second pillar is that live streaming, live video can help to establish you as an expert. Let me say it one more time. It will help to establish you as an expert. Another good colleague of mine, his name is Don Daniel. He's the founder and CEO of the Pill Method, a better way to eliminate debt. That's the subtagline of the Pill Method. And one of the things he was looking to do, was to really essentially set himself up in his space, this finance space. He had some really good interaction and feedback on Clubhouse, which is live audio. I want that to sink in for just a second. Live audio. We're still in the live. So he recognized, okay, this live thing is phenomenal, but because of the work that he does, it's better if he can see it, if people can see it. And so he was like, I've got to figure out a way to add the video component to this live audio success that I'm having. And so one of the things we were able to do with him, we were able to define, and I'll be honest, when he came to us, he was actually leading the charge in terms of, I need to do this. And so he described this scenario where I want to be able to stream on Clubhouse, but at the same time, simultaneously stream to Facebook and YouTube, right, to my platforms. And so we put together a technical setup in his office studio where he had Rodecaster Pro. He was connecting in through his iPad to Clubhouse, and then he was simultaneously using the same audio in StreamYard. But here's the clincher: the audio from Clubhouse could be heard if you were watching on YouTube, could be heard if you're watching on Facebook. And so he had this really great and engaged live experience, and it literally established him as an expert in his space. Not as an expert in the technical pieces and the live streaming pieces. I want to be clear. It established him as an expert. You know why? Because he went the extra mile to ensure that more people could find his platform, but could get access to the information he was sharing. This guy was changing lives. He would ask questions about your loans and how you're paying them off and how are you getting out of debt? How are you managing your finances and your money? What was your perspective and your mindset towards the way you go about life? And he was absolutely having massive success. But here's the clincher. People began to see him as the authority figure. People began to reference to say, and like what Don says, like what Pillman says, or Iceman was a term that they call him, interest cancellation expert, ICE. So they would be like, yo, what Don Ice says is that you do it like this. When people begin to refer to you as they're making points on their own platforms in their own spheres of influence, when they refer to you, they see you as the expert in that particular space. And Don Daniel was able to do that, leveraging and harnessing the power of live streaming. I believe that that can happen for you as well. And then our third one, all right, I had to pull in for this one. Our third one is that live streaming can help to set up steady streams of referral-based opportunities. If you've been on this channel for any portion of time, you've probably heard me say that particular phrase before, but you may not have been able to hear me describe what that means. And so for this particular example, this particular story, I want to tell you about a content coach and streamer and remote producer, media pastor, online church consultant. His name is Kirk Nugent. Yes, that's me. I'm talking in third person. And I want to tell you that as I began to start out, one of my major tenets for the business was that I wanted to have a portfolio of what I do. I am a remote producer. I manage live streams for people. I manage podcasts for people remotely. And I wanted to have a portfolio of what I do readily available online. So I began this show called How It All Works. And How It All Works was at the intersection of technology, media, and leadership. And I was bring people on to have these conversations, to give people a window into what people see, right? This public facing thing that you would see. I brought on actors. I brought on Hollywood technicians and gaffers and producers and video editors. I brought in musicians, recording artists. I brought in sports enthusiasts, announcers. I brought in professionals, athletes. I brought in several people that would come on this show. The point of the show, of course, I wanted it to be engaging. Of course, I wanted people to hear from my guest, but I also wanted them to see a window into what would it be like if I had Kirk produce my show. And so this is the clincher. I was able to utilize my live show to set up steady streams of referral-based opportunities. People would see the show and they would refer me. People would see the show, they would ask me, how can I book the business? They would see the show and they would set up a discovery call and they would say, hey, season 4, episode 6, I want that design for my show. Is that possible? You see, what this ended up doing for me is that it didn't set it up to where it's like people would generically saying, I want a live stream for myself. It set it up to where people were saying, I want that live stream. I want my live stream to look like that. And that is a very different metric. It's a very different marketing strategy. When somebody's looking for a remote producer, then all of us have an opportunity to bid on it and to make a case to get that business. But when somebody's looking for you, they're looking for your show, for your expertise, they're looking for what you specifically and uniquely bring to the table, then there's no competition. The only person that can meet that need is you, and you created it with your live stream. We talk about referral-based opportunities, and then the flip side of that is, of course, your live stream is your digital storefront. You've heard me say this multiple times. I start the podcast by sharing this phrase all the time. Your live stream is your digital storefront. People can look in and see what you have to offer, see your secret sauce on display, see what it is that you do, and recognize, I want to work with them. And if you are in business, coach, author, consultant, small business, maybe, I don't know what your product or service might be. One of the things that you could utilize and leverage live stream to do is to be at the top of the funnel, the top of your marketing funnel, to get people to go into the funnel. And that gives you an opportunity to bring in more income. And that's what we talk about when we say steady streams of referral-based opportunities. I tell you what, that in and of itself is worth the price of entry. This is what live streaming can do. And this is how I wanted to start off this particular season of the Why I Go Live podcast. I go live because it helps me to grow and engage an audience. I go live because it helps to establish you as an expert in your space, in your niche, in your field. I go live because it helps to set up steady streams of referral-based opportunities. And maybe for somebody out there, it's not about the money. Maybe you're a nonprofit. Maybe you're looking to help and serve. You're not looking for to gain any money in return. That is why I don't say referral-based income. I say referral-based opportunities. I'm telling you, I've seen people use live streaming and doors open that they never thought were possible because they simply decided to take a bet on themselves and utilize and leverage is the term I'm looking for, this thing called live video. And I'm simply sold out that this is the way. I hope that something that was shared in today's episode resonated with you. I hope that in the stories of MyRon Edmunds or Don Daniel or myself, that you heard, got a little peek, or a little peek behind the veil, a little window into all the things of why people are utilizing this thing called live streaming. I hope you were able to figure out how it all works, which is the tagline for our show. But here's the thing. Here's the challenge. I want to leave you with this. It's time to make a move. And if you are looking to make that move, we hope that you would hit us up here at Composition. That's the name of the company my wife and I run, Composition LLC. Go to my website, kirkrnugent.com. Go to the Work With Us page and just take a peek. See what are some of the services that we have. Maybe you want to book a discovery call and just kind of figure out, what could live streaming possibly do for me? Maybe you have a passion project. You have something that a message that you want to get out to a particular audience. We would love to work with you, because that is what live streaming is all about. And that is the reason why we go live. The why piece is wildly personal. It's not going to be the same from person to person to person. But one thing I can tell you that is the same across industry, across platforms, across people groups, is that people are going live and experiencing these things that we just shared in our show today. It's your boy, Kirk Nugent, the Geek Speaker Preacher. Thankful for your time and attention today. We'll see you around these internet streets or in the next audio stream.
Why I Go
Later,
Live,
fam.
hosted by Coach Kirk, is a composition production. Real streamers, honest stories, and incredible impact. Add your voice to the conversation. Go to kirkrnugent.live/member to join the community. And let's figure out how it all works.